Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about something that I think is so interesting, and it is looking at the houses in a chart in terms of really how you use astrology. And I want to inform everyone that I just wrote a new book. It's everything to do about what I'm going to be talking about, and it's due to come out this month. It is Astrologer Secrets, My Tools and Techniques. So this is very simple. Anyone can understand what I'm going to be going through, looking at a particularly interesting chart. And it's actually a chart I did not use in my book, although I used many charts to prove my point. And that is to go over the power and essence of what I think is the most underrated house of the horoscope. It's the third house. So I'm going to tell you everything about the third house, and I'm going to show you how you can look and see things so simply and easily from anyone's chart looking at the third house. And what I plan to do with this is go over all the houses, because what is important here is for you to look at a house, and whatever planet rules that house, the house that it sits in, will tell you everything about that house. Now, so many of our houses in our chart have no planets in them. We're thinking, does that mean that that area of our life are null and void? Absolutely not. It depends on the planet that rules that house, because whatever house it sits in tells you everything about the house that you're referring to. So when I show you an example, it's going to be really simple and clear cut. Now, before I continue on, I have to remind everyone, sign up for my free newsletter. This is where you're going to get all my predictions delivered to your email address every week. Go to galacticcenter.org, and while you're there, don't forget to look at and subscribe to my monthly magazine, where it's 100 pages of articles from some of the best writers in the field. Furthermore, don't forget you can buy my world predictions for 2023 discounted price, because it is the recording, 4 hours. You won't want to miss that. That's all on my website, galacticcenter.org. Plus, if you want to study with me, January is the month to go for it, because we start semester 1 all over again, and you can join our university all online, and we can speak every single week of the year talking about everything and anything astrological. So let's continue on with what I want to share with you, looking at the third house. Now, what is the third house? Everyone says it's communications, or it's brothers and sisters. Yes, it's those things. But did you know in Vedic astrology, we take it a lot further than that? Because the third house actually deals with the entertainment field, people that are entertainers. And I find that anytime you have a connection between the third house and the fifth house, you are vastly creative, and you are pretty much an entertainer, whether it's your field of business or not. But all entertainers have to have powerful third house and fifth house, and most of all, they're normally connected. I think I used something like, way too many examples in my book on this, but it was just so relevant because so many charts we have of entertainers such as Britney Spears, Madonna, singers, performers, even I go into Frank Sinatra, Elvis. All these people have a connection between the third house and the fifth house, because the third house is the house of creativity, primarily, first of all. We always think of it as being the fifth house, right? No. The fifth house is simply the third from the third. That's why the fifth house has the connotations of being creative, expressing oneself. But it's the third house that deals with the media, self-expression, getting out there to the public, because you wouldn't be a good performer if you didn't get out there to the world and the public. It's also the house that can deal with travels, yes, but think of it in terms of entertainers, writers, people that have to express themselves, and therefore connecting the other house of creativity, third from the third, fourth, fifth. You're going to find this to be a pattern that repeats itself. Or either people may have the ruling planet of their third house in the 10th house. This tells us what is their career. The 10th house is your career. If you have the ruler of the third, the planet that rules the sign that sits on the third house, if that planet goes to the 10th house, you're supposed to do something with third house matters, which are entertainment, media, connecting people, all of the creative arts. We're going to see that, particularly in the chart that I thought was just one I pulled up just to glance at. And of course, it's got all of the connotations that I'm talking about. So I thought just to explain this. So the third house realize in the area of entertainers, singers, actors, the really, really popular ones that have charisma, third house, right? So I thought, well, let's look at the chart. Let me scoot over here. But let's look at the chart of Mick Jagger. Mick Jagger, you got to admit, he's an entertainer. Like it or not, I mean, puts his whole heart and energy into his performances, even at his age. What is he, like 80 now? I don't know, but he's approaching 80, I think. Well, we've got his birth here. He will be 80, oh my God, on his birthday this year, because he was born 1943. Okay, let's look at Mick Jagger. So looking at his chart, his ascendant is Taurus. Now remember, I'm looking at the Vedic chart. Don't worry if these square charts are unfamiliar to you. Just follow me here. All I'm going to show you is, if you'll go to where the houses are numbered, go to Taurus, where his ascendant is, and count 3 houses. 1, 2, 3. Go clockwise, right? Going forward clockwise. So what do we have in his third house? An amazing stellium of planets. What's a stellium? 3 or more planets in a house. And he's got Sun, which is, our light force. He's got Jupiter, which is expansive. He's got Pluto, Jupiter conjunction, major power, right? Incredible. I should have used him in my Pluto book, shouldn't I? Oh, well. And Mercury is there with Rahu, all in his third house. So I find it very interesting if you consider the 5th house ruler, which, if you'll notice, go to where the 5th house is, there's Virgo. Virgo is on his 5th house. What is Virgo ruled by? Mercury. So Mercury is the ruler of his 5th house, and it goes to the 3rd house. There we have a connection between 3 and 5 already. Now, looking at the ruler of his 3rd house, he has got the moon. So the moon rules the 3rd, but it sits in his 1st house exalted. He is a born and natural performer. Loves to entertain. And I have to say, with all these planets here, in the sign of the moon, he is really Cancer. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, by the way. So he has got exalted Jupiter in Cancer in the 3rd house. But my point is, you're always going to see a powerful 3rd house. Either the ruler of the 3rd house is extraordinarily strong. And let's face it, the moon rules his 3rd house by the fact that his 3rd house, Cancer, is the sign that's on the 3rd house cusp. Therefore, Cancer is ruled by the moon. So the moon rules his 3rd house. Not only does it go to the 1st house of who he is, but it's in Taurus. I want you to realize Taurus, moon is exalted in the sign of Taurus. So in other words, the ruler of his 3rd house is exalted. What does exaltation mean? It's the most powerful sign it can be in. But I just wanted you to see, when we're talking about performers, entertainers, creative people, they are going to have powerful third houses, either a huge array of planets in it, the ruler being powerful by its sign placement, and the house it's in. By the way, the first house is an angle, extraordinarily powerful, as well as you will somehow have a connection between the third house and the fifth house. So he does have the ruler of the fifth, Mercury, in the third house. Sometimes they have it the other way around. The ruler of the third house goes to the fifth house. But somehow, there's a lot of houses that are activated, though, from all the planets being in his third house. That is Jupiter. Jupiter rules the 11th and the 8th. Mercury rules the 2nd and the 5th. He makes his money second house through what? Performing and entertaining. But the ruler of the 5th and the 3rd says it all. He's a born and natural entertainer. So if this piqued your attention just slightly, you're going to want to read my new book, because I talk about all the houses and unusual things about these houses that you may not think of. Because for those of you that are novices in astrology or don't know much about astrology, but you're wanting to learn, you're going to find that there are specific, very interesting, not talked about meanings about the houses that are going to really light you up with what you're understanding about your chart, about other people's chart, and just how the whole essence of astrology is going to start making so much more sense than just it's a house of communications. Come on. It is such a powerful house. As a matter of fact, I failed to mention another attribute to the third house, besides it being our thinking mind, our siblings, our communications, and travel. This is the house that deals with how we think, but it's also our courage and willpower. So in order to have a lot of energy and willpower, courage, you got to have a strong third house. Now I got to say, Mick Jagger is still performing on the stage, jumping up and down, and he's going to be 80 this year. I say exalted Jupiter with Pluto in his third house is what gives him this incredible energy and quest for life, making things happen. Let me say this. The reason why the third house is so vitally important in our chart is because it deals with our willpower. What could we have achieved or done with our life with no willpower? Does that give you an idea of just how important this underrated house is? So check it out. You're going to find so many people, their lives and everything makes so much sense once you truly understand one of my favorite houses and one of the most underrated houses of the horoscope, that is the third house. So with that, I'd like to close. If you would like more information on me, like a reading, if you would like to study with me, go to my website, galacticcenter.org. And my university website is University of Vedic Astrology.com. Thank you.